Despite Serj Tankian and John Dolmayan's public beef over the latter's political leanings, despite Tankian and Daron Malakian's statements against one another's desire and motivations to create another album, System of a Down came together to record two brand new songs in support of the Artsakh troops fighting against Azerbaijan and Turkey in 2020. And it got me thinking, why and how did the members of System of a Down get into politics and activism? And since it became clear that not all of the members see eye to eye on politics, I wanted to know who believed what and why. And while politics may be the very least sexy thing about music, much less life, we have to acknowledge that it is largely due to politics that System even exists. Why they wrote the groundbreaking songs that they did, and the fact that they opened the eyes of a lot of us growing up on the evils of the world. System of a Down's sophomore album, Toxicity, was released on September 4, 2001, a literal week before 9/11, and given the political climate at the time, and the political themes that emerge on various tracks, the youth began to ask questions. Or, if you were like me, it went right over your head. Toxicity was the first metal album I ever got, and it will always have a special place in my heart, but my god, was I dense. It's like I heard what they were saying, but I didn't hear what they were saying. I was aware that the themes were different from their contemporaries, but it didn't really register in my brain. But I think some folk are just more inclined to politics than others, even though the decisions of governments affect us all. And I think that this is the common theme throughout System. Serj Tankian was born in Lebanon and moved to the United States when he was 7. Both sets of his grandparents survived the Armenian genocide. And before I go any further, I have to explain exactly what the genocide was all about, because it is crucial in understanding Serj and System. The Armenian genocide was the systematic mass murder of Armenians by the Turkish government from 1915 to 1917. The reason behind this conflict? Religion. The Ottoman Empire allowed Armenians, Jews, and other groups to practice their religion, which in the case of the Armenians was Christianity. But the Armenians noted that their taxes were higher, they were still being forced to convert to Islam, and they were overall exploited. Naturally, they expressed the desire for equal rights. This resulted in the Sultan feeling threatened not only by the Armenians, but also by the rest of Europe, who were coming into their own power and were Christian. This resulted in the Hamidian massacres of 1894 to 1897, where 80 to 300,000 people were killed. But that was just a precursor of what was to come. When World War I was occurring, the empire had their back against the wall, and the Armenians were an enemy that was too close to home. On the 24th of April, Armenian leaders were rounded up and many of them killed. Armenians were driven out of their land en masse and led to deserts. The elderly died first, then the children. Those who had the strength to fight were killed. When a relief fund intervened and brought supplies that totaled over US $1 billion in today's currency, there were already thousands of reports attesting to the graveyard of dead bodies that littered the roads. The estimated death toll was over 1 million people. So yeah, Serj is pissed off. The entire band is pissed off, and rightly so. When Tankian attended California State University, Northridge, he was the president of the Armenian Students Association. He wasn't sure what he wanted to do with his life, but he started to play keyboard during his sophomore year. He found an outlet to express his emotions. Besides being the frontman of System, he's an activist and was awarded a commemorative medal for his contribution to the recognition of the Armenian genocide and the advancement of music. He supports Bernie Sanders and Sanders' record of fighting for civil liberties, something Tankian talks about, sings about, and screams about in his music. Oh, and he said that anyone who likes system but supports Trump is a hypocrite. Really, you couldn't ask for a better segue. Now let's move on to Serj's brother-in-law, John. John Dolmayan was the final member to join System of a Down, and I remember watching him in music videos and thinking to myself, man, this guy is serious. I don't know, he just seemed to be so stoic. But even back in the day, I didn't see him as being a very vocal person, much less when it came to politics. I wasn't even sure if he cared about it at all. But then again, when you look at his other bandmates, and then you look at John looks the most conservative. And I don't mean in terms of a political leaning, I mean in terms of literal looks. Serj has his pantomime performances. Daron is a kid of artists and was always expressing himself in different ways. And then, Shavo's beard says it all. Aside from a mohawk I saw sometimes, John was the most normal looking, quote unquote normal looking. And when I heard the lyrical themes coming through a typical System of a Down single, and I saw their performances in the music video, it led me to think that Serj, Daron, and Shavo had deeper passion about what was being sung, whereas John was more reserved about the whole thing. And as we will soon see, my interpretation wasn't exactly right. John and his family moved to the States from Lebanon due to the civil war going on at the time. John was born 2 years before the conflict erupted. Now, what was the cause of the conflict? Religion. When it comes to John's politics, he didn't seem to have any. When you check out his social media, he of course remembers the Armenian genocide, Armistice, and Memorial Day. He shared some fundraisers. He really likes the Buffalo Bills. But then things changed slightly. Donald Trump was elected president, and John made an Instagram post congratulating him and hoping he would do the office proud. When he was maligned for it, he expressed his disappointment, stating that one's opinion doesn't matter, including his own. He continued by saying that there were bigger problems in the world than yelling at someone else's perspective, and that it would be better to redirect that energy to helping someone. At this point, he still wasn't posting political stuff that much, but then things changed in June 2020 when he posted on Instagram that he endorsed Trump's message that his administration had done more for the black community since Abraham Lincoln. You can look up whether or not that's true, but ever since that post, he's been posting political stuff on a more regular basis. But since the conflict in Artsakh in November 2020, many of his posts have been about it and educating his audience on the history of the conflict and the vile acts their enemies are currently waging against Armenians. However, I couldn't help but note that he didn't wish Joe Biden the best when he won the presidency. So to me, it seems that John really wants a non-establishment guy in the seat over a career politician.
Much to you to fit into certain boxes that people set for you. And I guess that's kind of, in a lot of ways, that's what's happened to me. Although I've always tended to think more conservatively, I've always been a supporter of people that put their lives at risk, such as military, policemen, firemen, paramedics, anybody that does something for somebody else and puts it on the line for them. I have a lot of respect for those people, and that hasn't changed for me.
At any rate, Serj and John have butted heads on this political divide. John made a post about how socialism is the same as prisons and Serj commented on the post, trying to explain the difference. Serj himself has said that he gets frustrated with John, and I'm sure the feeling is mutual. Nevertheless, John has expressed his desire to resume System, and even posts fan-made memes about System's hiatus. So it's nice to see that someone has a sense of humor about this whole thing. System was booked to open for Slayer at a concert they were gonna play at. There was just one minor problem, one incy-pincy, almost minuscule problem. The concert was in Turkey. Now, I don't know who System's booking agent was at the time, but for sake, man, read the room. Anyway, System decided to do it. They decided to play. But they were met with resistance by the Turkish government. What a shock. They were told that they were not allowed to speak their minds, which, in all honesty, does not make a lot of sense, because all System would have to do is play, pluck, and it's game over. And if you think that System of a Down would not play pluck in Turkey to the Turks, to the people who were hurting their ancestors, I'm sorry, but that would be the biggest opportunity wasted. Yes, that would probably mean that they get arrested and held in some dungeon below Istanbul and forced to eat rotting kebabs, but I can't see a band as passionate as System not taking the chance to talk directly to the ancestors of the people who murdered their ancestors. Shavo Odadjian spoke about it in an interview and vented his frustration with Turkey's continued denial of the Armenian genocide and System's freedom of speech.
Slayer and us, we were on tour in Europe, and we're doing all the countries, and we had to go to Turkey. So we talk about everything, whatever's on our mind. We speak on stage, and we were not guaranteed the right to speak our minds. So we boycotted the show and said, fuck Turkey. Not that the people suck, but the government sucks, because the government did not guarantee the right for us to speak our minds.
Shavo is an interesting one because his politics aren't super obvious. He was born in Armenia and is the only member to actually be born there. He's a human rights activist, and he also mentors youth. He was awarded the Community Hero Award from the Armenian General Benevolent Union for his mentorship of Armenian Americans. In his acceptance speech, Shavo thanked his own mentor, Rizzo, from the Wu-Tang Clan. Now that's pretty cool, but it's also kind of weird since Rizzo is only 5 years older than Shavo. Anyway, Shavo also has his own cannabis brand. I'm sorry, like I said, there isn't much to suggest anything when it comes to Shavo's political leanings. I assume he's left-leaning, but there's nothing that really states that he is. The only thing I can see that he has faith in is that maybe, just maybe, System can get back together and make another album one day. But he has stated that System isn't even a political band, which is another claim that John has made. And yeah, that made me scratch my head too, but he explained this in an interview with Campus Circle. Odadjian stated, "I'm not going to talk about politics. I'm going to talk about us as humans. It's all about living your life righteously and having other people take example. It can be a chain reaction. We're a unit. We're all together. We're all connected. What I do affects what might happen in Iraq or China or Japan or anywhere else in time." An oddly relevant point in 2020. Daron Malakian is the only System of a Down member to be born in the United States. His dad, Vartan, was born in Iraq and moved to the United States to escape Saddam Hussein's regime. And what was behind Saddam's oppressive regime? Nationalism. Yeah, it wasn't religion this time. Regardless, Daron, as you probably know, has written a lot of material for System over the years. he also wrote the songs for the troops in Artsakh. So it would stem to reason that he is a political guy, right? Well, based on a few interviews, Daron presents himself as either a centrist, a moderate, or an I don't really care about politics guy. He's also spoken about police reform and incarceration. He also stated that the song Lives, which was performed by his side project Scars on Broadway, wasn't about the genocide itself, but about carrying on living after the genocide. But he really doesn't seem to care which side of the political spectrum people are on. In fact, his characterization of the American left and American right seems characteristic of someone who is observing the two sides, not someone who is on a team.
Mindset.
The Democrat convention felt like people were partying and amped, and the Republican felt like kind of stiff. And you can really tell the difference between Democrats and Republicans just off how they party. I can understand the people that are like patriots and have all that, flag waving. I'm Armenian, so I have pride in being Armenian. I have people in my family who've died for that cause. They've had people in their families and their generation past that have died in military and wars and for their flag, so they have a pride for it, and I can understand that pride. So I don't really diss those people. Plus I love NASCAR, so I can't really completely like diss those people. They're kind of my peeps.
That's surprising. I would not expect you to like NASCAR.
Yeah, but on the other side, if there is a disease that can be cured by stem cell research, or if I don't believe that a rape victim should have the baby, there's always two sides of an argument. You can't really hate people for thinking what they think.
He has his views about things but doesn't see the need to proclaim it to the world. He sees the good and the bad on both sides. You know what he really has a beef with? Religion. He noted that politicians use religion to wind people up to further their own agendas. And, if I may take it a step further, it was religion that was the primary force behind the Muslim Sultan and Turks refusing to treat the Christian Armenians with respect and dignity, because Christians don't accept Muhammad as God's prophet. That simple demarcation was enough to view someone as an enemy. You believe something different than what I believe. That's why I will argue with you. That's why I will fight you. That's why you deserve to die. Seems so relevant. Too relevant. Now, today's political climate may need System of a Down just as it did in the 2000s, but that doesn't seem to be possible right now. While the band was able to come together for Armenia, are they able to do it for America? For the world? To be honest, they seem too divided to be able to do so, but who knows? Maybe something will change? But at least you now know what the band members think. But if I'm being perfectly honest, it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. Because unless we choose to respect each other as people, and not just because we agree on the same things and believe the same things, we're doomed to repeat our history. Thanks for watching.